So, Anele, tell me, in terms of the research proposal, Anele, where are you?
My proposal went for the second submission in the ethics committee.
It went for second submission, you say?
Yes, it was in the departmental. The last time it was in the departmental submission or reviews. Then now it went for the first ethics committee.
What is how are you, in terms of your own proposal, Anele, how are you going to collect data?
I'm going to collect the data through interviews, questionnaires, and also a focus group discussion.
So you're going to use the two different methods?
It is a mixed method study.
Okay. Talk to us about the questionnaire, because it's a mixed method. Today we are going to be talking quantitative data collection, the instruments. What kind of instruments are you going to be using?
Self-administered.
If I'm where I am now and somebody says self-administered, they will think, what does that mean? So I'm trying to say, can you please, if you say a self-administered, you say, okay, that sounds great, but what exactly is that?
Social workers are going to fill in the questionnaires themselves and then return the questionnaires to a mediator.
I'm sorry, we missed that part.
I was saying social workers are going to do self-administration where they are filling the questionnaires themselves, and then they are going to return when the questionnaires are filled.
They are going to return the questionnaires back to you, right?
I will have a mediator.
How do you define a mediator?
It's somebody who is going to assist in my study from the recruitment of the participants, including the signing or the filling of informed consent by the participants, and then throughout data collection.
So that is the person who will be doing what? Repeat that.
The person is going to be assisting me from the recruitment of the participants, signing of the informed consents, and also the data collection.
So you define that person. What do you define that person as? Mediator.
Yes.
So what is the okay? This person is called a mediator because he's helping you with filling of the questionnaire.
The participants.
No, repeat. Then just repeat the definition of a mediator.
In my understanding, a mediator will be someone who will be assisting me throughout from the recruitment processes of the participant until the data is collected throughout the questionnaire.
How did you recruit the mediator? I want to know what is the right, what is the research.
I found a mediator I recruited somebody who has PhD in social work, who is a lecturer in the social work practice, and also who is specializing in gender-based violence.
Okay, so the person is to you okay, what is the role? Let's look at the role. The role of this person is to do what? To collect data.
No, to recruit the participants first.
Okay. So the person is you have employed this person, right?
Yes.
So it's going to recruit participants.
It's going to start from the recruitment of the participants, signing of the informed consents. And throughout that process, there will be an explanatory statement to say what is the study about, all those processes at the beginning, then signing of the informed consent when the participants agrees to be part of the study, then the process of data collection commence thereof.
Okay, this is not a field worker, right?
No.
And this role of a mediator starts and ends when?
It ends when the participants have agreed to be part of the study.
Oh, so but is it okay? You've got participants that you want the participant to agree to the study by way of signing the informed consent.
Yes, once the participants sign informed consent, then it means that they are willing to be part of the study.
And then at that point you release the mediator.
Yes.
But I hear you laughing about it.
Just that I'm on the street. I'm on the street, Doc, Prof. So I'm on the street. As I was saying that I was driving,
okay.
so I had to.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. Let's check. Let's check with the other students. What do they think about the comment? Let's release you so you don't get marked on your phone.
All right. Thanks very much.
Lucia, what do you think about what Anele has just shared with us in terms of the mediator? Today, what we're going to have to cover is that we need to cover the quantitative data collection instrument, because today is about quantitative data collection. We will look at when do we use quantitative methods, when shouldn't we use quantitative methods. We'll try to discuss measurements and strategies for reducing measurement errors. So on the data collection instruments, we'll look at instruments such as the Likert scale and the questionnaire. So we'll look at the tips and the design, around the questionnaire. Now, before some of you feel that you are lost in the process, let's go back and check the process. We've been stuck almost on stage 5 of the process, which is the data collection. The reason why we are stuck in this process is that this is the process that defines the entire process in terms of what does the data tell us. Now, some of you are doing mixed methods. Some of you are doing quantitative approaches. Some of you are doing qualitative approach. So when you're talking mixed methods, it's both the qualitative and the quantitative. But today we've decided we are going to spend some time just on the quantitative one, because the majority of you are doing quantitative. There are those that are doing qualitative. But today we are looking at methods of collection of data that are quantitative in nature. So step 5 is really where we are, and I would like to know from some of you as to where on the proposal are you? On the research proposal are some of you. I was hearing, I think it was Anele who was saying he submitted the proposal for the second time. So for clearance, for ethical clearance. But unfortunately, because he's walking the street, he only gave us an indication of the fact that he has since appointed the mediator. I was interested, and I'm still keen on the mediator situation, because we need to define that and understand that in the context of research as to how is it going to work in the practical sense, where does it start and where does it end? What is the role of a mediator and so on? Because those will be matters of the research design.
I recently just completed my proposal. I'm on the referencing part of everything and reading through it before I submit on Turn-In. Yeah, that's how far I am currently.
You have recently done what on Turn-In?
I recently completed the last part of my proposal, which is the budget part. I'm doing the referencing for the whole research, and I will be sending it on Turn-In
Okay,
to
what is the
check
proposal?
plagiarism.
Okay, what is the proposal? Is the Turn-It as the system, the tool that you use to?
I haven't used Turn-In because I saw with other students saying that you only have 3 chances. It only gives you 3 chances to submit your proposal. So I just wanted to complete everything before I submit so that I am aware that I only have 2 more chances in case there's a lot of things that I need to still fix.
Okay, what is your proposal about, if you don't mind us asking?
My proposal is about what influences students not to continue with higher education.
So, okay, just talk some more.
So I currently am researching about factors such as socio-economic status, social and cultural capital, family issues, financial concerns, high school organizations, and access to higher education based on the school that I'm currently assisting at in the township.
So what is your okay, let me ask maybe a different question. What is your units of analysis?
My unit of analysis, I'm currently using a qualitative approach, a descriptive way of the proposal.
So who are you targeting?
I'm targeting students and one teacher. So it's 3 students and one teacher currently that I have interviewed.
Be more specific.
Specific in what way,
I
sir?
mean, throughout the world there are students and throughout the world there are teachers.
I'm currently asking about the social status of students, the financial concerns that they have with pursuing education further than high school. Because I'm currently based in a grade 11 class, and I've noticed that they currently do not have a clue what kind of career they want to pursue or how even to apply in universities. So I saw that those are the small issues, like with high school organization, that the school currently lacks on. So I decided to research more about that.
So what are you researching? What is the okay? Give me the understanding of the topic. So if somebody was coming into your environment and you have to give them 1 or 2 lines of what you are studying, how do you put it?
To answer your question, basically, if I was to bring someone in the world of what I'm researching about, is basically the perspectives, ideas, and sentiments regarding the elements that affect the student's decision to attend universities, and also the factors that affect them in terms of cultural backgrounds, their socio-economic levels to enroll or complete university degrees.
Okay. But if that was to be the case, I hear you saying you are going qualitative, not quantitative.
No.
Is there a reason why you chose one approach over the other?
Currently, I feel that quantitative is a bit complex for me to um, start off with, because I have some issues with understanding quantitative. But with qualitative, it's much more easier with descriptive qualitative approach, with researching and interviewing people rather than working with numbers. I don't know if I'm making sense.
But isn't the topic what dictates the approach? Is it of course it's important as a researcher to be comfortable, but the topic that you seem to have chosen might require some numerical strength, or you say no, it doesn't. I'm trying to
No,
check. I'm trying to check what dictates the approach. Is it you, what you think, or is it more the topic that you've chosen? Or
pardon,
both?
please repeat that.
You are you asking that I must repeat the question?
Yes.
Or I'm saying what dictates the approach? Is it your comfort, or is it the topic that you are investigating, or is it both?
It's
Just from a
both.
thinking point of view.
I'd say it's both because I feel that I'm stronger with I'm much more good with qualitative than quantitative. I haven't really explored my abilities with quantitative as of yet, because I'm trying to still understand it as a whole.
And as a result, you are now conducting research that is only qualitative because you are not comfortable with. Yet, I'm looking at the choice of the topic, honestly. That
Yes,
it sounds to me that it will be well represented qualitatively and quantitatively.
with using mixed methods.
I think so. I really think so. But what do you think?
Um, I don't think of it like in that way. But looking at the interviews that I've had with the kids, um it would work out with mixed methods. But now I'm looking also at time that I still need to focus on other modules, and I think I'm done with the proposal. If I had to go back and include quantitative, I think that would require more time than what I currently have now.
Oh, okay. What is your what Kari, Tirani, I can see you. What is the expectation of the promoter on this matter? In other words, what value is it meant to add to the kind of work that you're doing? Or is just a comply? I mean, I'm trying to determine the extent to which it may add value to
Well,
the kind of work.
I'm currently also trying to help my students with career choices. So I'm also trying to find more information as to what hinders them pursuing or continuing with education further. So this also gives me a way of hearing what they have to say and the ideas that they have or questions that they might have for me. So I
Okay.
feel, yeah, that's how it adds value.
So you are, maybe I'm the one who's making the question difficult for you to understand. Does it matter the proposal in the bigger scheme of your academic performance or not? That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yes, it does.
In other words, if you were to submit the proposal that is only based on the 3 students and the 1 teacher and is qualitative, wouldn't that, at what level will your promoter engage on that? Or is just a matter where you just need to demonstrate that you have an understanding of one of the approaches? We can ask you, what is your proposal based on, or where are you in terms of the work, the research work that we discussing? Or you are hearing what about our conversation with Noltand was about? Do you have any comment generally or not?
Oh, I know. So with regards to my research, I, I'm still struggling a lot to find the control group. So yeah, that is the challenge that I'm facing right now.
You're struggling to find the?
I'm not sure if you got the
You said you're struggling to find the what?
control group. A control group, the group that I'm going to use as that's
Yes,
what
I'm
I'm
asking
trying
if
to
you
find
do.
right.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Tihan. You are a bit soft, but do you have the experimental group?
Yeah, that is what I'm facing. That the challenge that I'm facing is the experimental group.
Okay. Let me understand. Why do you need? Remember now, you said control group, but there's also experimental group, right? What is the? Yes. Sorry,
Yeah,
Tihan.
perhaps the
I think.
confusion is the terms that we are
Sorry.
using. I think the confusion is based on the terms that we are using right now.
You are saying that you're struggling to find the control group.
Yes, yes.
So I wanted to know, did you then find the experimental group? Because there's a control group, the experimental group. Oh, we're talking both groups now.
No, we still don't know. That's the control group that I'm struggling to.
Yeah, but I want you to take us through why. Look, once you talk about control group,
Yes.
then we understand that there is an experimental group. So the experimental groups you are sorted.
Yeah.
Do you have an experimental group though, or not?
I think I'm lost here.
Okay, you can't have a control group without an experimental group. So I want to know whether you have an experimental group already. The challenge with the comment you are making is you're struggling with the control group. So that suggests to me that you don't have issues with the experimental. You can't have, remember, I'm saying you can't have experimental group without a control group.
Yes.
So I want to know if the experimental group is fine. Okay, let's try Louis. Is it Louis? Louis French? Are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes.
Okay. What is your comment overall on? Well, we can talk to us about your proposal or the issue that you'd like to share with us. Where are you in terms of the proposal, and what are the joys of putting it together?
Well, I'm not very far. I'm still busy with the literature review, so I don't have any problems specifically to raise. I was just tuning in to see what comes up.
So you are currently busy with literature review.
Yes.
What is the intended area that you would like to investigate, or a problem that you are curious about?
I want to do something with HIV positive patients.
Okay.
And their state of mind. If there's perhaps like a higher incidence of depression among people who are diagnosed with HIV.
Okay, what is your assumption or hypothesis? Just roughly.
I was wondering if being diagnosed with a illness, which is it's not, I won't say it's terminal, but it limits your lifespan, how that affects your state of mind in the current sort of moment.
Okay, so you are saying there is some, it does in some way, in some degree, affect your state of mind.
I think it must do.
Yes, I'm just saying that's your assumption at the moment, right?
Yeah, that's my assumption at the moment. But I'm actually finding quite a bit of research has been done. So I'll have to fine tune it a bit and see, so it's something unique.
Okay. So who, just at face value, and again, you won't be right or wrong, it's just a comment. Who do you then think is going to be your participants of the study?
Well, it would be patients at the HIV clinic at one of the hospitals.
In South Africa?
Yes, in South Africa, in Johannesburg, yeah.
Oh, okay. So it will be in and around Johannesburg.
Yes, well, I would probably. I was thinking of just doing it at one hospital, just because logistics.
The convenience of
Yes.
you as a researcher as well.
Yes, and also I know that there are plenty of subjects at any of the big hospitals at their clinics, so you would get quite a big sample. So.
Okay, I hope you are picking up the elements that we are discussing, because these are the things that will have to go into the discussion as well.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, okay. So for me, what then I will be looking at is how are you dealing with the issues of ethics around that, identification and so forth?
Yes, I know that will be a very sensitive issue. You see, I've worked at one of the clinics in one of the hospitals, and so I'm quite aware how very private people are about their status. And it was right in the beginning. I worked there when they rolled out the ARVs in public hospitals. So a couple of newspapers came along, and nobody wanted to be in the photograph for the newspapers because in case they recognize them. So that's just so people are comfortable within the clinic, but they are not comfortable that anybody outside must know who they are. So it would have to be I'd have to use all the things that we've learned, like you'd have to assign numbers to people, and the identity must be like absolutely confidential.
Yeah. Okay. So the area of research ethics will be taken care of, right?
Yes.
Okay, now what about the data collection? How do you envisage? And again, I'm saying this is just a discussion, not necessarily a definite answers, because you're still working on it on this. How do you foresee yourself collecting data now? Here is you've identified them. Here they are. How do you see yourself collecting data?
Well, it was, I think an interview. So definitely like a qualitative kind of a method, and possibly interviews and maybe questionnaires, maybe a combination of the two.
Okay. So you might go mixed methods. That's what you're thinking.
Yes, probably.
A questionnaire on the one side and then the interview on the other side.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's when is your proposal expected? Do you have a date in mind or not necessarily?
They've just extended the date. I think it's the 26th of this month.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks for that. Let's see if there is anything that we can do to improve on your understanding. But maybe let's see if we can also talk to this method, quantitative method.
Okay.
Again, I just want to remind everybody on the platform that today the major on quantitative, but it's also always important to know when do you use quantitative methods of study or investigation. So I thought we could share some of these lessons so you can look at your own area, whether it's something that will be applicable or not applicable. And I was particularly interested in pushing Noltando further, because I think she was actually explaining some of the principles that are more researcher bias and so on. To say, is it the only thing, or is amongst the things that you consider when you choose a topic, or when you choose an approach, or design questionnaires and stuff like that. Now, there are 6 main types of research questions that only quantitative research is suited to find answers to. So in other words, I want you to look at your own choices and check the extent to which the quantitative research would be suitable. One is, when we want a quantitative answer, for example, if the students have their choice, how many of them choose to study experiential English 1, for example? So we want to know how many students would like to study that. The reason why we need to use quantitative research to answer this kind of question is obvious, because the numbers will matter. The more students want to study experiential English, the more teachers we know we need to bring on board. So in that scenario, it is advisable to consider quantitative method. The second option, the second type, main type of research question that is applicable for qualitative research is that numerical change can likewise only accurately be studied using quantitative methods. So where you are going to be using numerical changes, it's something that should be studied quantitatively. For instance, are the numbers of students in our university rising or falling? Or is achievement in English of our students going up or down? So if the numbers are rising, we know what to do. If the numbers are falling, we know what to do. So those are numerical changes that are important. So for decision making, that's also very important. And that's where you consider a quantitative study. Quantitative research is useful for conducting audience segmentation. So this is done by dividing the population into groups whose members are similar to each other and distinct from other groups. So again, if you've got audience that you want to segment, you can do that using quantitative research. Quantitative research is also suitable to explain some phenomena, e.g., what are the factors what factors predict the general English proficiency of the fourth-year students. I was just looking at a situation where the question was the factors that influence those students to apply for university or to apply for certain careers and so forth. Or what factors are related to changes in student English achievement over time. So when you want to know all those factors, you then can use quantitative research. Now, another area where quantitative research is appropriate, it's also in relation to the testing of a hypothesis. We might want to explain something, for instance, whether there is a relationship between students' achievement and their self-esteem and social background. So we want to know, is there any relationship between the achievement of students, their self-esteem, and their social background? Now we want to understand those variables. In such situation, you can then use quantitative study because you are testing some kind of hypothesis. Is one of the reasons why I was asking you, Louise, as to what is your hypothesis? In other words, what are you going to test going forward? So in these scenarios, these are just some guidelines on how and when you can use a quantitative method. So let's just see examples of those questions that are suited for quantitative analysis. Now, here we are just trying to look at those questions that may be appropriate when you are doing quantitative study. In its simplest form, a quantitative research question try to quantify the variables that you wish to examine. Now, some of the questions as an example will be, what is the daily consumption of soft drinks of students at a particular university? So you want to quantify the number of those students who do take soft drinks at any given time. So you want the quantities that are being consumed. For example, another example that is suitable for quantitative study is that what is the percentage of students in a particular university students consume soft drinks daily? So you want to know how many students in a particular university are consuming soft drinks. So you're determining, you've got a number of students, but you want to know which particular university students consume soft drinks daily. I mean, you may have, and I think the example I had earlier was somebody looking at grade 11. So we may take grade 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 if it's a high school, or at the university you may take different faculties and check which of these students consume soft drinks a lot. Helps with planning as well. Another researcher might wish to identify the difference between two or more groups on a single or multiple variable. For instance, what is the difference in the daily consumption of soft drinks between male and female students at a particular university? So again, what you are looking at there is that you're looking at the difference between male and female and the extent to which each of these gender groupings consume soft drinks. These are just examples. Lastly, as a researcher, you might wish to explore the relationship between one or more variables on one or more groups. This type of research is mostly associated with experiments and the identification of causal relationship. Now, here the question could be, what is the relationship between weather and soft drink consumption for a particular university students, or male or female students, doesn't matter. So here you want to look at the relationship between the consumption of soft drinks and the weather and how that affects particular students. So you want to know, is it more important at a certain time for students to consume soft drinks when it's cold, in winter, summer, spring, autumn, or whatever? And which of this category of students are the ones who consume more at what time in the weather? So you are looking at different one or more variables for one or more groups that you are meant to investigate. Now, there are other types of questions that are not well suited for quantitative methods. Again, we're looking at those that are suited for quantitative. Now, these are examples of those that are not well suited for quantitative questions. What kind of questions are those? Let's see if we can go through them quickly. One is that the first situation where quantitative research will fail is when we want to explore a problem in depth. So in other words, where you've got an interest to explore a problem in depth, we do not expect you to use quantitative research. Quantitative research is good at providing information in breadth from a large number of units. So where you're using a large number of units, then you'll find quantitative research quite useful. But when we want to explore a problem or a concept in depth, really quantitative methods are too shallow and not desirable at that level. 2, quantitative research is well suited for the testing of theories and hypotheses, as we said earlier. What quantitative methods cannot do very well is to develop those hypotheses and theories. So they're testing the theories and they're testing the hypotheses, but they do not necessarily develop those theories and or those hypotheses. So the hypothesis to be tested may come from a review of the literature. So in other words, those of you who are saying you are currently reviewing literature or theory, but can also be developed using exploratory qualitative research. So where you're going to apply quantitative research and you want hypothesis testing, you use the review of literature or theory, or you can develop it using exploratory research, qualitative research. So qualitative research generate and develop theories and hypotheses, not quantitative. The third aspect, or the third reason where we shouldn't use quantitative methods is that if issues to be studied are particularly complex, an in-depth qualitative study is more likely to pick up on these than a quantitative study. So if you're going to explore or you're investigating or you're studying a complex issue and a phenomenon, it is advisable and desirable to do qualitative than quantitative. There's a limit to how many variables can be looked at in any one quantitative study, and partly because in quantitative research, it is the researcher who defines the variable to be studied. So in quantitative research, you define the variables that you want studied. And lastly, whilst quantitative methods are better at looking at cause and effect, qualitative methods are more suited to looking at the meaning of particular events or circumstances. So when you look at the quantitative research about cause and effect, whilst when you look at the qualitative methods, you look at the meaning of particular events and circumstances. So with qualitative methods there, you will look at meaning of particular events and circumstances. So if your interest is not on the cause and effect, but in understanding meaning of particular events and circumstances, then qualitative research is very much relevant than quantitative research. We have now looked at those circumstances and reasons where it may be desirable to use qualitative research. So what I'm going to check with you is, for those of you who are using, and this is not the right or wrong answer situation I'm looking at, but just general comment to assist the process forward. For those of you who are now at a point where you have chosen qualitative and quantitative, how do you think this relates to what we've just spoken about now? What are your own reasons is what I'm looking for. Anyone who wants to just take a plunge? I see Now I can see some names. I see is it Annie Forose? Sorry, I butchered your name, but please correct us. What is your what will be your comment on what we've just spoken about? Your own
terms
study.
of what my own study, I'm busy with a proposal, and the proposal that I'm busy with, I'm gonna do it in a qualitative manner.
Don't worry about that.
Yes, I'll do it in a qualitative manner. So what you just mentioned, okay, the first point you just stated that the quantitative will fall if you want to explore the problem in depth, which is what I'm doing now. My proposal is about experiences and perceptions on gender-based violence prevention programs amongst former participants of gender-based violence programs. So I was looking for developing an understanding in terms of their experiences after attending the programs.
So you're looking for their I couldn't hear that.
I want. Okay, I'm looking at their experiences and perceptions on the programs that they attended about gender-based violence. So I want to develop an in-depth understanding and also want to gain insight in whether what they think the implementation of the program maybe can be reformulated in some way.
So you're looking at an in-depth understanding from the
from former participants, those individuals who have participated in the gender-based prevention program.
Or those who participated in the program.
Yes.
Okay, so is it qualitative or quantitative?
No, I am approaching it in a qualitative manner.
In a qualitative, so you're looking at getting their views more than their numbers matter.
Yes, I'm looking at their views on how they experience the program, and then what perception they can share in terms of what can be changed about those programs that they attended to make it more effective. I'm not looking at the numbers, I'm only looking at their views and their experiences.
Okay, is there anywhere where you will want to look at the program itself? No.
I was tempted to evaluate the program, but then I saw that it's going to require me to use a mixed method, and I'm not prepared to use a mixed method.
You are the second.
So for now,
you're the second student here who's deliberately avoiding how the chosen topic dictates their approaches. I mean, I remember T.L. Norton to say, no, I don't want to go there. Now I hear you saying, yeah, well, if I were to go beyond this now, I might be tempted to use a mixed method, and I don't want to go quantitative. What is your...
No, I'm really not prepared.
Yeah, but what is your aptitude of the quantitative? Do you feel it's because you can do both using the same instrument. What is your aptitude on quantitative methods? Apart from the fact that you may not like it, but what is the actual concern that you want to share with us?
No, it's not about that I don't like it. I feel that I need to read more about quantitative, as it consists of numbers and the data analysis. I don't think I'll be able to understand the method that I hope to use in quantitative. So that's why I prefer to go in qualitative rather than quantitative. I think it's requiring more time to understand it well.
Okay. So you feel that you have not read enough on the quantitative?
Yes, I don't have much understanding on quantitative, so I
Do
need
you
to give
find
myself time in understanding.
are you comfortable? Do you find that you've got comfort with the qualitative method?
So far, I can say yes, I do find it comfortable, though I am struggling when it comes to data analysis.
Okay. I don't
That's
know.
only
We
the
can't.
struggle that
Yeah, because I think the data analysis insofar as qualitative method is quite something else. And if I'm impressed when students are saying, no, we want to do qualitative, not quantitative, because quantitative can be, you can really do a lot more within a short space. It's not as time consuming as qualitative, but I mean, we've got different orientation, and I think we've got different preferences and so forth. But yeah, I think it's about what you've just said, that you have not read much on the quantitative, because much easier to
is.
collect quantitative data. But I mean, it depends on the, as you said, on the induction and on our orientation.
Okay.
All right. Annie Force, sorry, I might be butchering your name. Can you hear us at least? We just want you to hear us. Yeah, Anele. Okay, between the two, I mean, you've been listening to some conversations now up to this far. Which of the approaches do you find that you can relate to better?
I think I can do both based on my experience from honors level, master's level, and so on. I can do better because in my understanding, or in the work that I'm currently busy with, I am doing mixed method. Then therefore I am obliged to actually attempt qualitative or use qualitative approach and also quantitative approach. And then it goes like that from there until the data analysis. So I'm comfortable to use qualitative. I think qualitative is much. I'm comfortable with qualitative much than quantitative, but I'm not saying qualitative is very complicated still, but I think I've developed a positive attitude towards a qualitative analysis where I have to look at the themes and so on more than the numbers, because that one I think is very simple, the quantitative one.
Okay. So when you say very simple, I get worried. Because the students on this platform think nothing is simple, especially quantitative.
Not as complex as one will be struggling to deal with the qualitative one.
Okay.
Qualitative
What are
one.
what are we talking about when we're looking at collection of quantitative data? In other words, from an instrument's point of view.
Quantitative one, we are supposed, in my understanding, I should be using questionnaires to collect a data for quantitative study.
Okay, we're supposed to be using questionnaires,
That is
right?
my understanding.
No, it's fine. Yes, I mean
that is what I will be using in my second phase.
Okay.
In my second phase of the study.
Yes. So here we are thinking questionnaires.
Yes, questionnaires.
Now, how do you, and this is now just a general question, not specific. How do you design a questionnaire?
I think there are guidelines to design an instrument for a qualitative study, looking at what you need to find out, because I think what helps the most is the objectives of the study, that at the end of the day they should be met, and whatever that you are going to be asking the participants, is it going to be helping you to fulfill the objectives of the study? So I found the objective as guiding in terms of developing the questionnaire.
Okay.
Vice versa, the interview guide as well.
Just hold on the thought there, because I've got a question on the measurement. Let's just deal with the measurement quickly, and then we can see how that is attended to in the design or the administration of the questionnaire when you do collection of data. Now, there's issue of measurements in research, and for those of you who have done maths or stats or science, this might not be new. The aim of measurement is to achieve the most accurate judgment possible. Remember, when you do measurement, is that, I mean, you measure the substance according to the appropriate measurement tool. For instance, how do you measure distance? How do you measure liquid? How do you measure? Because if you use the wrong measurement, you're more likely to make wrong judgment. So measurement seeks to minimize the amount of measurement error. I mean, if you are going to measure weight and you're going to measure liquid and you're going to measure distance, using same measurement instrument, you might really become inaccurate. So it's important in your questionnaire to know and to be sure of the measurements that you are, or in your research to know what you are measuring, so that you don't end up measuring wrong or using wrong instrument to measure wrong phenomenon or variables. One of the measurement that you can think about is the ordinal scale. This one is used to classify ranked categories. In ordinal scale, the number refers to rank in order, where you might be required to rank things according to their order. Sometimes the questionnaire might be asked to say, these are 5 things. Which one is going to be ranked number 1, 2, 3 in terms of their importance? So the intervals between ranks are not the same. For example, you might rank poverty higher than unemployment, higher than inequality, and so forth. But somebody might do the ranking differently. But intervals between ranks are not the same. I mean, I'm using just a rough example. The numbers represent categories, not an amount. For example, if you say number 1 is poverty, number 2 is unemployment, number 3 is inequality, those numbers then will represent the categories, but not necessarily an amount in an ordinal scale. On the other hand, if you do interval scales, this one will demonstrate equal distance between units of measurement. So there is the distance is equal between the units that you are measuring. It represents a continuum of characteristics from less to more. The difference between 2 and 3, for example, is the same as the difference between 3 and 4 and 4 and 5. So there you've got the same difference. 2 and 3, 3 and 4, 4 and 5. Their difference is about 1. So it's equal distance between the units of measurement. The other measurement that we can think about is a ratio scale. This one demonstrates equal distances between units of measurement. They have absolute 0 point, they start from 0 and indicate absolute amounts of the characteristics that are measured. Someone who is 6 feet tall, for example, is twice as tall as someone who is 3 feet tall. So if you look at 6 feet, is twice as tall as 3 feet tall. For example, if you got 100 rands, you are better than someone who is 50 rand, who's got 50 rand in his possession. So those kind of distances, equal distances, are within the ratio. So I just want to check, maybe before we do that, let's just look at what are the strategies that you can apply to reduce measurement errors. The first strategy is the standardization of your assessment. So when you've got a questionnaire, you have to standardize it to make sure that it's standard and it measures the same thing over and over. You can't be designing questionnaire today and then another one tomorrow. So you standardize everything so that everybody receives the same kind of a questionnaire for your study. This one specifies a process or a protocol for administering the assessment. So I know that this is how the protocol, these are the process, or this is the protocol that is going to be followed when you administer the assessment. So standardization helps to reduce variability on how the rater administer the test. Variability as in changes. One of the reasons why I wanted to engage a lot more with the gentleman who spoke earlier on the GBV and the mediator was to get to a point where we will even get to standardization to see how is he reducing the measurement error there, so that we don't have a situation where somebody does the recruitment, somebody does the administration of the questionnaire, because once you do all those things, they need to be very clear in your design, in your research design. The methods of informing and training and ensuring accuracy of raters is another strategy that you can apply to reduce measurement error. Here, it involves providing detailed assessment instructions or an administration manual, training and credentialing those who will administer an assessment. So I think some of you might be familiar now with the assembling manuals or guides. So when you buy something of late, which is the do-it-yourself kind of items, they now give you an instruction manual. What does that do? That actually assists in ensuring that you assemble the item in the way that the designer had in mind. So there are issues around training and credentialing those who will administer assessment. So in other words, if you are going to have people who are going to collect data for you, you need to make sure that you train them so that they know what data they must collect and how they must actually capture that data on the instrument. Otherwise, what happens is you give us all the questionnaire and all of us move around and we've got different understanding of what needs to be done. That is a recipe for disaster. So it is important to remember that you need to train for the raters or the assessors. And if needs be, you can also provide them with the instruction or administration manual. Repeated measures, where you do your pre-test, your current, your pre, and your post measurements. Very important, where the characteristics of assessments seek to measure fluctuates, raters take multiple measurements. So where the characteristics of assessments seek to measure fluctuates, raters then must take multiple measurements to consider the fluctuation. Because if they do fluctuate, then it might mean that you need to measure before, during, and after. Let's just look at the data collection instruments. All of you who are going to collect quantitative data will have any of these instruments that you need to use to collect data. Earlier on, somebody says they're going to use self-administered questionnaire. This is one of the quantitative method of or instruments of collection of data. One of the instruments is in-person interviews. In-person interview consists of an interviewer asking the respondent questions in a face-to-face situation. The interview may take place at your home or at a research office or anywhere where both the respondents and the researcher are convenient and it's sufficiently guaranteeing of the confidentiality and so forth. The telephone interviews. This one is telephone interview involved the presentation of the questionnaire by telephone. The computer-assisted telephone interview system program a survey questionnaire directly into a computer. So here, the system does program the questionnaire into a computer. So the telephone interviewer, in this case the researcher, or anybody that is recruited and appointed by the researcher to do it, reads the questions from a television type screen and records the answers directly on the terminal keyboard or directly onto the screen with a light pen. So I phone a person and I ask the person the questions as they are already on my questionnaire, and I then start recording the answers, or I capture the answers using the computer as I receive them from respondents. That you can do. The omnibus survey. This is a type of telephone survey. Here the interviewer answers questions of special interest to individual clients. It can be useful for what is called pulse taking. For instance, where we monitor opinions, attitudes regarding a certain issue. It happens a lot. I always make the example of times for elections that they do a lot of pulse taking, checking who are you going to vote for at a particular time. So today, if you are upset by party A, you're going to vote for party B or C, or you're not going to vote at all. Tomorrow, you are then going to vote for party A or C. You keep on changing at a particular time in terms of your own opinions, in terms of your own attitude. So often omnibus surveys are conducted once or twice a week, and the sample telephone numbers are computer generated. So tomorrow they talk to you about what you think about a phenomenon. You're this way tomorrow. Today you are this way, tomorrow you are that way, and next week you're thinking differently. So those are some of the omnibus surveys that you can bump into. The other instrument that we can talk about is the self-administered questionnaire. This one involves respondents filling out self-administered questionnaires themselves. So the self-administered questionnaires are generally distributed through mail. Those of you who are saying you're going to do self-administered questionnaire, it will be important to know how you're going to administer them, or how are you going to distribute them to the respondents. Upon receipt of the questionnaires, the respondent fill it out and returns them via mail to the researcher. So you normally attach self-stamped envelope, which then explain where the questionnaire must be sent. So let me pause here and ask the question from those of you who have already done the questionnaire as to how does this relate to the work that you've done so far? If any, is there any relationship or nothing? And I know there's those of you who said you're not going to use the questionnaire, but that doesn't mean you cannot, as a student, understand what is involved in any of those instruments. Any reflection for those of you who are using questionnaires or who intend to use questionnaires to, how do you see this assisting you?
So my research proposal is I'm using qualitative. But then
Yeah,
now
you are the fifth person now that is using qualitative today.
But then now I wouldn't say I'm getting confused. Now I don't know. Because when I was reading your previous slide, it says when your research proposal is about causes and effects, quantitative is actually better. And then two, I was gonna use face-to-face interviews, like a semi-structured interview, to collect data. So now I'm confused if I'm supposed to use both, like a mixed method or just qualitative.
What is the focus of your investigation or your research?
My research, it's about poverty. Okay, the title is Poverty as a Cause of HIV Infection Amongst Young Immigrants in Hebrew Community.
So you want to see if there's a relationship between poverty and
Yes,
HIV.
and HIV infections, yes, among those young immigrants.
That sounds quantitative. What do you think?
Yeah, that's my worry now. That is, I was listening the way you were explaining.
No, remember you can rephrase your question to become qualitative, but in the way that you've just spoken to me now, it's I'm more inclined to think you're gonna do either mixed methods or quantitative as a minimum. I might be wrong because remember we don't know the details.
Yes, but I want qualitative.
Yes, if you do one quality, then you need to then you need to see how you reformulate your question, because I've told you when to use quantitative, and I think that the formulation of this question is more quantitative. So if you want qualitative, then you need to look at when is it appropriate not to use qualitative, especially from the question point of view. So it's not wrong what you're saying. I'm just saying from where I'm seated, I'm thinking you're going to look at the poverty, how poverty affect women or people that are within you say in and around Hillbrow, I thought.
Yes, Hebrew community, yeah, because that's where most young immigrants are.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with what you are proposing. It may just as well that you're looking at a quantitative study, but you can reformulate the question to become more qualitative. But at the moment, it sounds quantitative.
Quantitative.
Yeah.
Whew.
It's not something you want. Is that what you're saying?
I want qualitative.
Everybody seems not to love that they have to work with numbers.
I don't mind the numbers, but then my problem will be on data analysis, because on I don't know.
No, but remember, I'm saying you can then change the topic to become more qualitative, but for that to happen, you need to know how to reformulate it. But it's not about just running away from quantitative. If quantitative is going to be a better approach to resolve the problem. What is the how is this relating to the amount of work that you are required to do in your research? For your academic work?
Yes. You're saying, Prof?
Have you submitted your proposal?
I haven't. I'm still doing it, yes.
Oh, okay. How does this then affect your academic work? Are you required to submit the proposal?
Yes.
And what value does it add to your entire program?
A huge value, actually. It's gonna be the last assignment, and also I'll have to use this research proposal for applying for masters.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think just as a proposal, put it together, see how it goes. And I'm sure you're going to get some guidance from the promoter, right? Or a supervisor or something.
So far, okay, this is what has happened so far. We've done the first session, which is writing the problem statement, and then research objectives, and then research questions, and then we had to also submit something like a draft, but then it was marked and it contributes to my final mark.
Okay.
Yes. The data collection, like and the sampling. And then now, so it's more like it's 2 assignments. So now that was assignment 1, the one that I just talked about, the research questions, objectives, and yeah, data collection and sampling. And then assignment 2, which is the final one, where you're supposed to do the whole research proposal, and then with the improvement of what you submitted on assignment 1.
I see.
Yes.
So when is this work due?
It's due on the 15th of September, which is in 7 days' time.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, so there's very little to change from what you've already done, I suppose.
Yeah, but then it's still confusing because the marker, the person who was marking, they didn't give much of details, hence I'm still now confused on so many things. So I was waiting for the qualitative session, but then now, after having the today's session, I'm now more confused than ever. I think I have to read more.
Are you confused by? Are we confusing you when we explain the quantitative approaches, which is what they are, or are you confused because you would rather want our discussion to be more qualitative, which is not what this session is all about today?
No,
remember, quantitative is as we are talking about it today.
Yes.
So is that what is confusing you?
No, what is confusing me is my topic, and also the comments that I got from my marker. So now the confusion is, should I just try read more about quantitative and take the quantitative route, or should I just continue with the qualitative and try and improve from what the marker corrected me on?
What give us? Are you able to give us one or so comment that was given by the marker in relation to your topic that can cause confusion.
Okay, let me see something quickly.
In the meantime, I've opened the slide. I hope some of you can see it on the questionnaire. Whilst we're allowing Prudence to open a comment by the marker, it's always helpful when we're dealing with a live situation. Are you there, Prudence? Or should...
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, but
I'm
what is your...
opening my marked assignment?
Okay, you'll jump in when you have it. Let's just finish this slide here in front of us.
Okay.
When it comes to the questionnaire, I just want us to share these views. A questionnaire doubtlessly is one of the primary source of obtaining data in any research endeavor. So when you want to obtain data, you use a questionnaire. When it's appropriately developed, a questionnaire has many advantages. So in other words, if you can develop a very appropriate questionnaire, you'll have many advantages about it. So one of the efficient means of collecting data on a large scale basis, it's how the questionnaire is being viewed, that is efficient in collecting data on a large scale. So you can get many people receiving it and you can still get as much as possible. So when you design a questionnaire, you should ensure that it is valid, it is reliable, and unambiguous. So on the whole, a questionnaire can appear in three types. It can be a closed-ended, where it's very structured, or it can be open-ended, where it's unstructured, or it can be a mixture of closed-ended and open-ended questionnaire, where they ask you a closed question, and at the same time they say, please explain. So closed-ended questionnaires provide you as an inquirer or as a researcher with quantitative or numerical data. Open-ended questionnaires provide you with qualitative or text information, which is quite rich. Now, we have spoken about tips of designing a questionnaire, but I just want us to repeat, make it clear, keep it short. Avoid double-barrel questions. Respondent must be competent to answer. So you need to give it to people who will be able to answer the questions. Respondent must be willing to answer, not just competent to answer, but also willing to answer. Questions should be relevant. You avoid negative items, like avoid biased items and terms where you are already telling people things that will make them feel embarrassed. Avoid negative items. In the context of questionnaire, bias refers to any property of question that encourages respondent to answer in a particular way. So before we go to the last part of this discussion, let me just check with Prudence if she found one of those two comments we've requested. Prudence?
Hello?
Yes. Jump in.
Yes. So, okay. There's one that you just mentioned now, the double-barrel questions. One of my objectives, they said, is double-barreled, and then I was left confused. I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, that means if you ask a question, two questions in one, you can confuse someone.
Oh.
So double barrel will mean you're asking two questions in one, and a person now has to answer question one and question two.
Okay,
so
does it mean I can separate?
Yes, you have to reduce it into one question so that it's clear what the person is asking. I mean, if a person says, what is your name and where do you work? They're asking you double barrel questions.
Okay.
So you then say, I'm Prudence and I work at a certain place. Whilst if a person asks, what is your name, is one question. And then the next question, where do you work, is another question. So you split that into two questions.
Okay. So the other question was, okay, the comment. Okay, let me see 7.1. It says you do not clearly motivate the choice of method. I didn't motivate clearly why I chose qualitative research method on this for this topic.
Yes, what it means is you need to read on both approaches, first of all, right? You need to understand both of them. And then once you have understood both of them, then you choose the one that you are choosing, and you give reasons why you are choosing the method that you are choosing.
Okay, so
You first explain, you first
yes.
demonstrate that you understand both methods. That's just the principle of research that you should demonstrate. You understand both methods, and you are choosing a particular method, and you motivate why you are choosing those methods, given the topic or the problem that you are trying to resolve.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why you need to read on both. Actually, you read on both, you choose one, and you motivate why the choice.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does. Also, I did repeat between. Okay, so I got confused between the research design and research methodology. I actually wrote the same thing without realizing.
Oh, okay. So can you fix that in terms of the research design and the research method?
Okay, let me see if I understood. Because after having had the sessions with you, because this one I submitted it before we had some sessions. So now I can fix it. So I just need to understand, just to say it out and see if I understand better or I'm still in the dark. Okay. So now I understand that the research methodology, obviously in my case, I chose qualitative, right? That's the methodology of my research. And then in research design, it's the type of design or the plan that I'll use to achieve my qualitative methodology.
Yes, in terms of how are you going to collect data and how are you going to analyze data?
Yes. So now am I understanding it right? Or
Yes, there is about the plan. The other one is about the plan, and the other one is about the techniques that you're going to apply to collect and analyze data. So it's about data collection and data analysis.
and data analysis. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, you have taken care of these aspects of quantitative data collection, but maybe just let me close it with the Likert scale questionnaire, which makes complex opinions simple to understand. It's a question which is a 5-point or 7-point rating. A Likert scale items are most often used to investigate how respondents rate a series of statements by having them circle or otherwise mark numbered category like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You'll sometimes see agree, disagree, or is strongly agree. Okay, let me rather put it this way. With a 5-point scale, it's extreme. Like you'll have 5 strongly disagree, 4 being disagree, 3 maybe you're sitting somewhere in the fence, 2 being agree, and then 1 being strongly agree. So those are just the degrees. But you can have the questionnaire done in 7 basic question types. The one being around the quantity or the information, the other one being category, the other one where it's about multiple choice, the other one being scale, ranking, the other one being complex or grade or table, and then the other one being open-ended. Now, when similar questions are administered simultaneously to a large number of people, the acquired data are more identical, correct, and standard. So you normally issue the questionnaire to a number of people at the same time. Generally, a questionnaire make use of one or several types of the questions above, where it can deal with quantity, category, list, scale, ranking, complex grade, or open-ended. So ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our session today, and I hope that we managed to do justice to some of the instruments as we spoke about earlier. So you will now go back and look at your quantitative data collection instruments. When is it that you can use the quantitative methods, particularly for you prudence and those that are simply just wanting to go qualitative? When shouldn't we use the methods of quantitative approach, measurement strategies that you can use to reduce measurement errors, and then the basic question types? So I hope that helps you in preparing for your research going forward. So I'm going to pause here. I'm going to pause here to allow Godfrey to just close this session, because I know that we've gone a little bit over time, and apologies for really rushing through some of these issues at the end. But we are not done with the quantitative data collection, because we will still have to look at qualitative data collection before we do analysis at both quantitative and qualitative.